So you guys happen to run through any Cadjpy?
No, I did not.
I couldn't hear that, brother.
No, I did not.
Got you, got you.
I haven't had a chance.
Sure, no worries. So we'll dive into it. I will turn on the annotations if you guys would like to annotate. I'll annotate for myself right here as well. And we'll dive right into it. So looking at this daily right now, what's our structure? Perfect. Our low, and our high maintaining. Perfect. So we see relative to our data right now, we came up to our extreme and we've had a reaction that's broken this order flow here. So now as we scale down to the 4 hour, what's our order flow relative, or what's our structure relative to the 4 hour? Could we agree that we're looking like so?
There.
Perfect, perfect. So ideally, based off the 4 hour understanding, we just took out that low, so we could come all the way back up. But now, relative to our 1 hour, can we agree this is our low? That's the low before it. This is the high maintaining that 1 hour right now. Perfect, perfect. So with that being said, I'm waiting for my extreme all the way back up here. And if you guys don't remember, we've gone over this like 1,000 times. There's a 5-minute point of interest right up here, and that's what I'm measuring, that last drive. Not necessarily the point of interest, but just like that last drive. And that's where my extreme's at. But now we have started to get some price action that's in our favor as we get down to the lower time frame. So now keep in mind, we're looking for price to bare minimum come up here around like that 88 hold up, but we're lower. So we're looking to see if we can buy price up, right? So now relative to our order flow, we could just scale a little bit lower to maybe something like the 5 minutes. All right, 15 would be fine. So looking at this order flow in the 5 minute, could we agree this is our high? That's the high before it, and this is that low maintaining.
Sir.
Perfect, perfect. So now keep in mind, we do these same confirmations over and over again. So I'll just put them up right here for anybody who's watching the recording. I know you guys understand them relatively clear. So market structure, that's always number one. Step number two, where's liquidity? And if we're bullish on this order flow, we're going to be looking for our targets to the upside. So our first single low, our first single high is right there. So that's going to be that first like ideal target. Now keep in mind, we have liquidity points down here, and if we catch something lower time frame, we would be able to use our lower liquidity points. So that's our liquidity right there. We have some liquidity right there, but now let's ask ourselves, where are these banks? Where's our extreme? Where's our break of structure point of interest? And our last drive, I'm sure you guys will agree, is right there. From high to low, that's that last drive. This is what's maintaining our bullishness. So that's our extreme. Now, our break of interest is the point of interest that causes this break. And can we agree that from this drive push down is our last drive? From high to low, that's what causes that break. So that's my point of interest I'm looking at. And that's how we knock out our 3 confirmations. Pretty simple. So now, ultimately, our job is just to wait for price to get down into these areas and to start looking for positions. So now we're inside of that break of structure point of interest. And what are we doing? What are we doing? We're accumulating, right? Nice little 1, 2, 3 drives. So we could draw our trading range like so. This is that change of character. So if that's our change of character, we have, so in climax, we have a secondary test that does trade back to 50%. And then we get that secondary test in phase B. That's confirmed with our break of structure and exit of the trading range, which is that sign of strength. So now at this point, we have our break and exit of the trading range, and we can just identify this last drive. So we have here to here. $50 and 80%. Now, what is that percent going to be? 50% is going to be about a 14 pip stop loss. A little chunky. I'd much rather play something like this 80%, but what are you guys thinking? How do you guys want
I'll take the 80%.
You'll take the 80%. Now, what about splitting your risk between the 80% and the 50% just covering this low? Because it's that reaccumulation, right?
Yeah,
So what do you guys think about that?
I do that.
Gotcha.
That's probably like only like 1 pip.
So we have something like this. Covering that low, about a 2 pip stop loss. Obviously, our first target would be that sign of strength. So that would be about a 1 to 12, and we would just continue to scale out to that overall new high. Now, our 80%. This low, about a 6 pip stop loss. And first target's right there, right? Perfect. So what do you guys like? Are we just gonna let price play and tap this in? How do you guys want to play it?
I would set my limit.
You said your limit?
Yeah.
Perfect, perfect. So limits are set, and let's kind of let price do its thing. Go down to a minute, just in case you want to build something lower time frame. Play. What have we done? We tapped into our order, right?
Yeah.
Perfect, perfect. So nice tapped in. Now we're inside of that higher time frame point of interest. Are we compressing or consolidating?
Talking about where we tapping at.
Coming down into us tapping in.
Yeah, you can say it's consolidated.
Gotcha. And how I'm looking at it is like so. I'm looking at this as my trading range. Once again, this is my change of character. Just go through and label. So we have our climax to our AR. We then get that secondary test that's testing the demand. We get that trade away, giving us that upwards action. Then we get another secondary test, which is confirmed as our secondary test in phase B. Once we get the spring right into our entry. This is that high that we need to break. So we just confirmed the schematic out of our entry, right?
Yeah.
Perfect, perfect. So we're confirmed. We could honestly play this however. So like once we get this break, are you guys risk free? Are you guys reducing your risk? Are you guys taking a small partials at about 1 to 7? How are you guys managing your position?
I definitely be risk-free.
Risk-free, perfect. Risk-free, letting run. So now, are you guys trying to catch some re-entries off of this schematic?
Yeah.
Perfect, perfect. So we'll measure this last 50 and 80%. Now, let's see, 50% covering the low is about an 8 pip stop. 80% covering the low is about a 3.3. How are you guys playing it? You guys playing both? You guys just taking one?
Split it.
Split it. Split it. When in doubt, split it. So we have 50%. It's about an 8 pip stop loss. A little chunky, but it makes sure you get filled. On that 80% is about a 3 pip stop loss. Coming up to that high, obviously would give that 1 to 2, but we're targeting a lot higher based off the higher time frame. So just keep in mind, this is just our lower time frame target for this entry. Ideally, we wouldn't even take a partials here because it's only going to be a 1 to 2, 1 to 2.5. So we'll just let her run into our higher area. We'll just let her do her Dougie now. All right, so that would have tapped us in. This is a trade I personally actually took, so I know I was spilled on that. Obviously, we never come down to the 80% and we break this order flow. So now, are we risk-free on this position?
Yes, sir.
Perfect, risk-free on both of them. Now let's talk about this target. Let's make sure we have high. Perfect. So these are our orders. Perfect. So now, ideally, if we make a new high, this is our extreme, right? Right?
Sir.
Gotcha. So if we make that new high, do you guys want to place the limit off the extreme, or you guys want to wait for a schematic with us being a 6 pip stop loss?
But it being a 6 pip, I just take the limit. But I also be having an alert to look for schematic.
Say no less. So we drop that line there, and I'll make this line purple. So we remember that's going to be, we're replacing that order, and this purple line underneath it will be our stop loss. All right, so that's that. Can we make a new high? We'll scale up to a 5-minute for this. All right, what is price starting to do?
Compress.
Definitely starting to get that compression. Ideally, I would say this is our climax to AR. So as we're watching, we'll just obviously have to continue to move with it. But to start off, that's how I'll be watching it. Jeez. Okay. So what do we have?
Distro.
Yep, we have a nice distro, however you want to see it. You could still say this is a part of it. Ideally, I'd be more inclined to look at my trading range like so, to where we have this is our climax to AR. Our fine climax, AR, we have our secondary tests, and our up thrust. So now, in all reality, we could say up thrust and UTAD if this came higher, but it didn't. So we just have our up thrust. So now our last drive would be from this low to the highest point, right?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. So let's talk about it. Are we looking to possibly hedge a position? Already advised from down here, right?
Yeah.
Are we looking to possibly sell down to continue catching those buys from possibly the extreme?
I do. I take that.
Gotcha. So 50% covering the high is a 15 pips stop loss. Are you placing that?
No, I don't think so.
Gotcha. No worries. So 80%, 6.3. Pretty sure you're more interested in that 6.3 and that 80%, right?
Yeah.
Gotcha. So we'll see if we can take this down to our extreme. Keep in mind, if price gives us a schematic around this 50%, we will pull the trigger based off the schematic.
Yeah.
So we're starting to look like it's coming up with a little compression. Okay, so she just tapped into 50%. She just tapped in. So let's get this, see what this does. All right, so that taps into 50% and we take out our order flow. Not yet structured. Not yet structured. So what are you guys looking to do? Are you guys looking to place a limit out of this last drive? Are you guys looking to wait for an accumulation out of this last drive or a distribution out of this last drive? What are you guys looking to do?
I definitely be measuring that last drive. I probably wait for a schematic.
Gotcha. Wait for a schematic. Tap right up into that 80% relatively quick. Lots of compression here. Lots of compression. It looks like there was a lower time frame schematic right here. I wonder if something will tap into it before falling. But ultimately, I'm just waiting. So we tapped above this liquidity, but we're still inside of this area. And we break confirming this schematic here. And technically, this is a redistribution. We have our accumulation. We build that ice. We break the ice. We break structure to the downside. The highest point is our shakeout. So how are you guys looking to play?
I mean, I would say like this, right?
Measure that whole move?
Yeah.
Got you. I personally, either one is fine. Yours ensures we get tapped in quicker. What I personally played off of was this.
Oh, okay.
It was just that last drive. So from high to low, I just saw this as a drive. So once we retrace, that was my last drive. 50 and 80%. Ideally, what we'd like to play. Are you guys down to throw limits at this? Are you guys waiting for another schematic after it just gave us a schematic? What do you guys want to do?
I just place the limit at that point.
So limits off of 50 and 80%. So now how are you playing this? Are you covering just this high, or are you covering the high from right here?
If I was in the situation actually trading this, I think I would have to cover this.
80 covering the high.
What was that?
80 covering the highest high.
80 covering the highest high and 50 covering this high?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have it like so. We'll see if we can at least get price back down into our extreme area. So at least get it back down to about a 1 to 12 or about a 118. So now, can we get filled? We can stay on this 5 minute. So price taps. Perfect. Price taps into our 50 and our 80. We make a new low. Are you guys looking for a reentry?
Yeah, I mean, that's a nice little push right there.
Last drive, reentry off of 50 and 80%. We're risk free, right?
Yeah.
So would you guys be willing to throw our same risk right back here?
Amazing.
Just stack some orders. If we get filled. Nope. Price makes a new low. We don't get it. So we can delete these.
Wait, sure.
So we're looking to see if we can get price down here now. Do we still have our extreme limit set right here?
80%.
Yeah, off that 80%. It's still set.
As of right now, it doesn't look too bad.
Perfect. So just continue holding price down. Okay, so now here's the next area that I want to look at. So let's ask ourselves something. We want to see price continue lower, right? Now it looks like price started to possibly accumulate, right? So price definitely could accumulate from where we were, from where we are. Now, I really wanted to see it come lower. So at this time, I was expecting for this to turn into a redistribution.
Right.
So for this to turn into a redistribution, we would need the break of the ice and the break obstruction to the downside. But lower time frame right now, 1 minute, what did we just do? What did we just do?
Distribution.
Just had a nice little type for it, right? So now, probably don't want to take a limit out of this. Ideally, what we'd want to most likely do is see if we get another fractal out of it, right? Does that make sense? Because we have our type 4, we broken structure, exited the trading range. Ideally, I guess you could say you could place the limit, but keep in mind this is extremely lower time frame. This is just a 1 minute schematic, you know.
Yeah.
And we'll wait for price to get up inside of this drive. And we can just wait and see what price wants to do, right?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. So looks like price is walking itself down. So we have All right, so ideally for this to be invalid, no, even if it makes the low, it would still be valid. So yeah, we're waiting to see. All right. Looking at this now, what are we doing, guys? Like
Compress a little bit.
Started to compress.
Yeah, like right there for sure.
Perfect, perfect. So we could say our trading range could be something like that. It could be climax AR secondary test. It could be multiple things, right? But we have this compression. So with that compression right underneath our schematic, are you guys willing to place some risk off of 50 and 80%? Or no?
Yeah.
Sounds a little iffy, brother.
What we looking for? That's what we're looking for. We're looking for compression.
Exactly. Yep. Need that compression consolidation. We could throw our risk at it. We have the confirmation.
Confirmation.
And now you just wait. So once again, if we go back up to that 5 minute, we're looking to see if we could at least take price into our entry at the very least. So can we get tapped in with our up thrust or UTAG?
Just missed the 80.
Just missed the 80, tapped into
50.
So that's set right there. Is it pretty clear to see that this is the last drive for that schematic? Right there, last drive. Perfect, perfect, perfect. So now we can kind of just continue to let this play, let it do its W. We can scale out to like the 5 minute. And from the 5 minute, sheesh. She goes crazy. She goes absolutely crazy. Now, let's talk about something. Let's talk about something. So we just took, we had this is our high, this is our high, this is our low maintaining, correct? Mic check 1 2.
Yes, sir. I heard you.
Perfect. So now that we've taken out this low, would it be accurate to say that that's our low, that's the low before it, and this is our high maintaining?
Yes, sir.
Nice. Now, this would ideally be our extreme, right? And could we agree that what caused the break of structure was this last push up before the sell-off? That last push up, and then
Yes.
that is what actually caused the break underneath it, right? Perfect, perfect. So that's our break of structure point of interest. This is our extreme. Ideally, we place our limit off of our extreme, right?
Yes, sir.
And for our break of structure point of interest, we're going to wait for price to get up and wait for a schematic. Sounds good? So we'll allow this to play. So she makes a new order. So our order flow is still, is this, that's our high. Now keep in mind, our structure is still all the way up here. So even though we made a new order flow low, I'm still willing to see price come up, right?
Yeah.
Perfect. Let's consider the price.
Oh,
So we make a new order flow load. So our order flow is being maintained from here. But once again, our structure is still being maintained from the top side. Oh, no.
I had a quick question.
What's up, brother?
On those the short positions, did you already take? Are you out of it? Or are you
So
still holding it?
So let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. So ideally, this position, we would have took our first partials here, or both of these positions, there's 50 and 80. We would have took our first partials here. Our second partials would have been either inside of here if we would have gave a schematic, which it never did. So it would have been at the break of the low. Our third partials would have been at the break of this low. And we're looking to just continue holding until we get down to like our lower areas or until we hedge and apply, you know?
Okay.
So that's how we're managing them. And same thing with this. So like caught that 50% up inside here. Ideally, our first partials would have been here. Second partials would have been at the break of this low. And our third would have been at the break of this low. So 3 partials on all of them, holding that last quarter of a position. So now we see price is coming back up. See price is coming back up. So since price is coming back up, we'll scale down to something like the 5-minute. And are we starting to compress consolidate?
yeah.
Definitely are. We definitely are. So ideally, how I would start looking at it from what we have right now. It's like so. Climax AR, secondary test, minor sign of weakness. This could be our up thrust. So now let's say we saw this a couple seconds, a couple minutes earlier. So we're building our schematic right underneath our break structure point of interest. Are you guys willing to place limits out of 50 and 80%? 50% covering the high is a 5.7 pip stop loss. So 80% is obviously going to be about a 3 pip stop loss. Are you guys willing to place those?
Yeah, because we progressing.
Perfect. So these will be those orders. Once again, covering the high. 3%. All right. So now let's take these for a low. These are our first orders. And let's see how price wants to do this. Let's rewind a little bit.
Reverse.
So quick. All right, so we're tapped in. Are we tapped into 80%? Just barely. Just barely. So that's that 80% we're just barely tapped into. So now let's scale to ideally, I would say the 1 minute, but really where this happened was on the seconds time frame. This is where I positioned myself on Friday. So I'm gonna have to rewind just a little bit.
I see what you
Don't let RBZ see.
Oh God, don't let me see it.
All right, so what do we see?
Well, I see it definitely. And then I see this as a break right there.
Perfect. So we have a schematic here, distribution, and this is the last drive, correct?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. So we will drop our 50/80. Are you looking to take both? Are you looking to just take 80%? How are you looking to play this, brother?
I'm taking both.
Splitting risk between 50 and 80 sounds good to me.
Time frame. They gotta both be some bomb entries. Okay.
Covering the high is only about the 1 pip stop from that 80%. It's a little less, but you know, and then the 50% is about a 2 pip stop. So we'll take this down. Obviously, we're taking it at least to that last low, and boom, we're tapped in. So we make a new low. And ideally, this is that last drive of mitigation, right? So from this last drive, are you looking to take an entry? Do you want a cleaner break before you throw some risk at it? How are you guys looking to play it?
For that one, I would wait for a clean break.
Gotcha.
Yeah, same.
Perfect. So now let's see what price wants to give us. Do you guys see what price it just gave us? One drive, 2 drive, 3 drive, 4 drives in our break of structure.
Hard to see in the second time frame, but you can see it.
It's like if we went to, I know it's a lot of stuff, but 1 drive, 2 drive, 3 drive, that's our 4th drive. All we need is a break. So there's our schematic. We get that fractal schematic out of this area. So we got a clean little schematic. Now we got the break. I'm looking to place 50 and 80%. What about you guys?
I look if I seen this how you seen it, yeah, I think that.
So we have our 50 and 80%. But now here's the thing. Price still could come up here. 80% was never mitigated, right? So gotta cover the high. About a 2.8 pip stop loss and a 2 pip stop loss.
And
Take price down. And
we see where we feel.
so we get filled into just the 50%. Just that 50%, we missed the 80. So now that we've made that new low, we've confirmed this schematic, that's that test. Are you guys looking to take an entry out of the test possibly? Or no?
The test is the last one, right?
So yeah, this is a test. I personally, I look for my entries off of the spring, the test, and the last point of support, or the last point of supply. So I'm personally looking for a reentry, and how I played this on Friday, I measured this move, but same exact thing. Due to the fact that 80% up here wasn't mitigated,
You got to cover the whole high.
Exactly. So we have 50%. Covering the high is just a 3 pip stop, so I was okay with it. 80%. Covering the high is about a 2 pip stop, plus or minus. Both about a 3. And yeah, so we'll obviously take these down. So now that we confirm that schematic, we're just looking for a reentry. And to keep it completely 1K, I didn't take these entries initially off of a limit. What I did, I had everything marked up and I waited price to come up. Once we come up, right here. So once I literally like I ran out, came right back, and price was just pushing up and pushed down. Keep in mind this is a 15-second time frame, so it's moving extremely fast. And as soon as we started pushing up, I market executed once, and then I market executed just around the high. So that's how I personally was filled on that 50 and 80. It wasn't from a limit, it was execution. But the reason why I market executed is because as we're coming into our entry, what are we doing? We're compressing, right? So that's our compression. This is our schematic. This is our highest event. So if that's our high, that's our high. That's the breakup structure. So that's all we need. Once we get the break, and actually, where we went right here, because this is where we're going to talk about a new concept that I've been implementing. Me and Igor initially talked about it, and I just started it last week, like literally on Friday with 2 trades. And this is one of the examples I did it with. So we have our schematic. I'm already filled into my positions. Now I want to look for a reentry. And I was like last week, I had 1 trade on Thursday and like three to 5 trades on Friday. And it was like relatively a slow week until Friday. And I ended up having, it was like a 1 to 37, a 1 to 25, and like a 1 to 16 or something like that, were the 3 trades I ended up closing out that were profitable on Friday. But ultimately, I was looking to stack even more positions. And the position I was able to stack was at the breakup structure. So ultimately, sell stops and buy stops. Me and Igor were talking about how can we really start utilizing sell stops and buy stops. And this is how. Let's say we're waiting for our schematic. All we need is the break to confirm. What I did, I placed my sell stop at the breakup structure, my stop loss right above. It was about a 4-pip stop loss, and let it run. So once we get the confirmation of the breakup structure, we're tapped into the trade. But keep in mind, this is our last drive. This is our last drive. So I'm still looking at taking my 50 and 80% entry. So 50% here, 80% here. I'm still looking to take both of these. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Perfect. So we break. We're entered into this trade because of the stop, obviously, which is pretty cool because it's only a 4-pip stop. So now if price doesn't come back, we've taken advantage of this opportunity, but if price does come back, we're getting tapped in. And we see what price does, we never come back. She comes up to the open and takes off. So we'll scale up.
Very close.
Boom. So let's talk about all these orders now.
Now I understand why your screen was so bad. Now it's really about to be packed. Boy.
But what was that?
I said, now the screen really about to be packed.
So let's drag all of these orders down. So we'll just drag this big ass one over. Okay. There we go. There we go. There we go. So where did price maxed out at so far? So we maxed out. Keep in mind our target is a little lower. This is just where we close out on Friday. We actually closed out a little higher. Drag all these down. We'll talk about the risk reward opportunities it gave us. And to be completely okay with you guys, I was only planning on going over my entries from last Friday, which I personally caught 3 trades. And then as we hopped on, I was just like, sheesh, there's so much we could backtest. So I figured we could just run through all of them. But ultimately, we see like from our most recent sales, from our most recent sales, we were able to work ourselves into about a 1 to 27, 1 to 16, 1 to 20, 1 to 24, 1 to 39. This 1 to 89 was that 80% of the extreme of the fractal all the way up there. We had about a 1 to 12 where we stopped from this entry, about a 1 to 30 from that 80% of that breakup structure point of interest. Obviously, we would have hit stop on this. We had 1 order build here, which our target would have taken us to about a 1 to 41. We had 50 and 80%, which we were filled into both of them for about a 1 to 42 and a 1 to 20, covering this low as our target right over here. Once we get over there, this order was never filled, unfortunately. And then we had these orders here, which I personally took my partials clear before price ended up coming back, and they were about a 1 to 28 and a 1 to 6. 80% was never filled. So lots of 1s to 20s, couple 1 to 15s, couple like lower risk rewards, but we see lots of opportunities in just literally since the second. So in 10 days, she gave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, about 11 entries in the last 10 days. That all went over a 1 to 5. It's pretty decent. But yeah, that was the back test for Cadjpy that I wanted to go over with you guys. Please. Yep, exactly, brother. Exactly. Once you broke that low, confirm the type 4 climax secondary test up there. So you had that fractal up there. Yeah. Ideally, I'd still be waiting at that 80%. If price wants to come up to us, of course. But yeah, pretty clean. Do you guys have any other questions?
As of right now, would you be looking for the accumulation at the bottom of there?
You talking about here? I'm waiting for a new low personally. I'm waiting for a new low, and the reason why is because we just tapped into our breakup structure point of interest. So ideally, if it gives a stupid clean, slightly larger, like if it gave us like a 15-minute, 5-minute accumulation, I'd give it a shot. But honestly, I'd rather wait for the low and continue selling. And the reason why is at 1 hour, we're looking like so. 4 hour, we're looking like so. So 1 hour, we're bearish. 4 hour, we're bearish. Daily, bearish. So yeah. I'd much rather. And then as far as like our outlook, this I honestly, like, I was planning on, like I said, going through 3 trades. So I thought we would have a lot more time for the outlook. I'll just wake up tomorrow morning. So for our 7 a.m., I'll just run the outlook, and yeah, we'll get to it then.
All right, for sure.
You guys have any other questions?
It's time, like,
Not right now.
Say no more, say no more. So RBZ, if you'd like to lock in for London session tomorrow, let me know. We could start getting you set up. And yeah, brother.
Okay, for sure.
Perfect. Hope you guys have a